Hello, everyone, and welcome to the On Time, On Target Financial Thought Leadership Series. And I'm excited to bring you today Briana Baldwin, who is from the Bay Area in California, or that's where she works right now. She has a background in the tech industry. But what I really want to talk to her about today, and why I'm excited to have her on the show, is because she's an investor. She's invested in stocks. She's also got some cryptocurrency exposure. She has Robinhood experience, and Robinhood has been all over the news, especially this past week, coming off of the Wall Street bets things. And we actually met through, there's a podcasting Facebook page out there where people can guest on shows and, be a guest, find a guest, that sort of thing. And she's kind of on the cutting edge of starting her own podcast. And she was testing the water for,
Mhm.
how many people would be interested in coming on my show if it's about this. And kind of an overwhelming response. I was one of those that said, "Yeah, I would love to help you out." So with that, enough of me talking. This is Brianna's first time being a guest, so
Hello, everyone.
if it's not perfect, that's okay. But Brianna, over to you to tell our listeners about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Briana. I'm from Tracy, California, and I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you, Stephen, for the wonderful introduction. And yes, I do trade on Robinhood, and it's been in the news for quite some time now. I feel like it's been in the news for as long as I've been using it. I feel like so many people who've been trading for a while do not like it, but I've always trusted it. Even to this day, I still trust it. Even though they've taken a few stocks away, I've honestly never traded those stocks. I love video games, but I've never been a huge gamer. That's been more of like my brother's avenue. So I primarily trade things that I believe in. So I've never really looked into GameStop. So that's my stance on Robinhood right now.
Awesome.
I'm also really into cryptocurrency.
Yes, well, we're gonna come back to the crypto part, but for investing, have you been like investing since your teen years? Is this something you just started? What's your kind of background, and what got you into investing?
Okay, great question. I started in 2018. I was maybe 21 years old. I've always knew about trading stocks mostly because of my mom. She actually has a whole lot of experience and she always wanted me to like trade stocks, but when I was younger, I wanted to spend my money on other things. I really was not as financially literate as I am now, I'd say. So I had actually met someone and he was saying, "Oh, I make 300 on a good day." And I'm like, "Wow, that's interesting."
Right?
It didn't really take my mom, but it took someone else to really put it into me. And I'm like, "Oh, well, let me try it." I have this mindset, if they can do it, I can do it. And, I started working at 16. I've always been really about money, I'd say. So I saved up some money. I just put in maybe $100 at first. And I had joined E-Trade initially. This was when it did cost to buy and sell. So commission wasn't free yet. And I was paying like $5 and I realized, wow, I'm down $10 no matter what. And for someone starting with $100, that's a whole lot to lose,
Yeah.
because you have to trade so much just to make your commission back. So that didn't really make sense to me. So I started searching for other brokers to use and I found Robinhood. I'm like, wow, okay, free commission. So I'm like, well, that's opportunity for me. So immediately I went over there. Side this is off topic a little bit, but I remember I had bought some shares. I think if it's ENTP or ENTA, one of
Okay.
those energy stocks, and I had bought a whole lot
All
for a
right.
whole for like a really like $100 now. So I really need to go back into E-Trade, but I think they want like 500 to get in. So I don't really know if it would be worth it. But I always think about that. So maybe one day I will.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been on Robinhood ever since. And then eventually I started looking into day trading and I saw how I could make money day trading. I don't know if I would recommend it to everyone, but if you're someone who watches the market all day, then that would be perfect. Um, but anyway, I looked into day trading and I realized there were limitations to that within the stock market. And I found out that you could day trade as many times as you want with crypto. So that really excited me, even though crypto at the time was like 3 grand. I was like, well, let me just do this and see what I can do. And it was a lot more fun. I was day trading all day. And I did find out that there are like so many crypto coins. There may be like over 100.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, but Robinhood only has like 10 or so or 12 at most for me to trade. And that's okay with me because I like the simplicity of the app. I've learned the app like the back of my hand. And it's all in one place. I can do my stocks and I can do my crypto. I like that. So now I help my friends and family if they're interested in learning. I have them schedule times on my Calendly, pretty much around my full time schedule.
Oh,
And
no.
I love talking to them about it. And they'll ask me questions, and a lot of them feel a lot more confident now to get started with a little bit. And I've also been writing that Dogcoin wave lately. So if anyone's interested in my favorite coin right now, I'd say Dogcoin
All right.
or Ethereum or
All right.
Ethereum Classic.
Well, good. Well, we'll come back to that. And what I
Yeah.
liked about some of the things you said there are where, if they can do it, I can do it too. And I think a lot of times some folks can be intimidated at a younger age. Not maybe intimidated is the wrong word, but hesitant to enter into investing at a younger age, than like 40. Because it's
Mhm.
like I don't, I kind of want to, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm not all that comfortable. So I think it's fantastic that you started at an early age and you had to have the positive attitude, which being a
Right.
successful investor, that's so important, right? You kind of have to be
Thank you.
and believe in yourself and that you're getting out there and getting involved. And you just hearing of the things you're saying, I think you're going to do great in your podcasting, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Thank you.
And I started my podcast. If you look at I do the financial thought leadership series where I do interviews. That's kind of one part, but the rest of my podcast is all questions, and it became people out. You had mentioned your parents and family asking you questions, and that's where I came up with my podcast episode ideas. Is if three people ask me the same question, and I'm repeating myself throughout the day, it's just like
Mhm.
what that means. Other people out there have that same question. So let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit about. I like how you're kind of talking positively about Robinhood. It's been a negative news week. Everybody
Mhm.
got excited about the Wall Street bets thing and all of that. And then Robinhood did make some decisions, but it's good to hear you talk about the ease, the simplicity of the app, and it's kind of designed for a younger, functionality, if you will,
Right.
the phone base. So that's fantastic. So let's talk about crypto. Were you like you'd mentioned 2018 for starting and investing? Is that when you kind of discovered crypto too, or was it even before that or after that? Or talk us about your kind of your entry into crypto and then your recommendations, if you
Well, I started with crypto in 2018. I started with stocks first and then crypto maybe 2 or 3 weeks following that.
will. Okay.
At that point, I had put in $1,000, but I had already knew about crypto from 2017, but I was not trading at that time. I was just merely watching on the news with my mom because she's really into that kind of stuff. She's not into crypto,
Okay.
but she was talking about it. I love watching the news with her. So that's pretty much where I was. But once I did start, I'm like, crypto was always in the back of my mind. And even though my mom didn't talk to me about it or anyone else, I still looked into it for myself, and I really do see value in it a whole lot. I've had some of my biggest days in crypto. I had $2,000 or $3,000 days with crypto, and I
Mhm.
can't really say the same for stocks. Maybe one or two times.
Right. Well, certainly the explosion in some of the crypto names has been amazing. I am most familiar with Bitcoin. I'm an owner of Bitcoin through a trust, the Greystone Trust option there instead of outright through Coinbase.
Hmm.
But can you talk to and I know about like Ethereum, and then Ripple because those are kind of in the news. But I think you mentioned you've been in several of these coins. So tell us about some of your experience there.
Okay, my biggest advice would be to hold. If I wish I held Bitcoin, for example, when they were 3 grand, but I didn't have a whole lot of faith in crypto yet. I definitely consider myself a crypto head now at this point since I've become more knowledgeable about it. And I'm also not going to say I don't like stocks. I still love to trade stocks. I'm still an advocate for stocks as well. But with crypto, I feel like you do want to hold, but you don't want to hold because with crypto, you don't know what's going to happen. I
Right.
wouldn't recommend getting into coins like Dogecoin right now because it's so, overbought, as a lot of investors like to say. It can go down at any moment. It did just go down. It went down, I think, like 60% since it skyrocketed 600%. So you
Yeah.
have to remember that that's a small fraction.
Yeah.
It's a small fraction compared to what happened recently. So I would get in now if you have the chance. But yeah, I don't know. I would get things like BSV because they have a bad month and I'm an analytical trader. And that's one thing I favor over stocks though, because with stocks you have a lot of like news involved and you have to keep up with hearsay, she say. But with crypto, it's just the charts. You can see what's up, what's down, and some news does come into play, but it doesn't really affect it as much. It's always been there.
Right. Do you
So
think your background in tech, does that kind of form the way you think and then make naturally, you know, interested in crypto because it's so technical?
well, you are onto something. I've never been asked that. Maybe you're right. I have always loved math as a kid, and it's always been easier to me than the next person usually.
Right.
So yeah, I would say maybe that does come into play. Um, so I never really thought of that. That's a great question.
Yeah. The thought piece.
Yeah.
Well, all right. And then, so in Robinhood, like I'm familiar, I use Schwab. So when I'm in the Schwab app, which you can't really buy crypto through Schwab. So when you buy it through Robinhood, so say somebody out there has, a $2,000 account, can you buy obviously a fraction of a Bitcoin? Then is that how you're buying it?
Absolutely. I was never required to buy an entire Bitcoin. When I was trading Bitcoin for 3,000, I was new and I was just putting in like 100 at a time. And then I was trying to make $5 each trade.
Okay.
I did. And I would try to do like 3 to 5 trades a day. And I would maybe reach that goal maybe 70% of the time. But the first year, I really was not profitable. I kept losing money. So then I took some money out until I could see consistent growth over time.
Okay.
And once I did that, I actually did call myself profitable once COVID hit
Oh, no,
last year. So it took maybe 2 years for me to learn. I shouldn't make it seem like I was profitable right off the bat because I wasn't. I had to really learn.
sure.
And I've also learned to hold when you're down. Don't you only lose when you sell. And my mom did always tell me that, but I really understand that now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of investing, whether it's stocks, crypto, or anything, or even in real estate, is learning. And you're right.
Hmm.
The expectation for the listener out there, if you're trying to, excuse me, follow in Brianna's shoes, is yeah, you're probably not going to be profitable right away. You have to learn and develop your tactics and your trading plan and all of that. So that's great advice out there. As
Right.
far as now, let's transition to the. Well, I guess before we do that,
Also,
go
I
ahead.
want to mention one more thing.
Yeah.
I was working at McDonald's. I saved up my McDonald's checks to do what I'm doing. I didn't even go to college. I'm working in tech, just trying to network and meet different people like I'm meeting now. So I do want to give that advice out to anyone listening who may not have a college degree, may not have much money at all or the experience. Don't let that stop you. you
Yeah.
know you can always use the internet. It's free. You can always use the internet to reach out to people who may want to help you, and I'm available. You can also tell your listeners to schedule a time to talk with me. I don't charge anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will put your contact information in the show notes for today so people can reach out to you and get on your calendar and talk to you about the amazing stuff you've done. And I love your message there that, yeah, and I used to fly airplanes and I would say that airplanes don't care how old you are, it doesn't care about any of your dynamics. It's whether or not you can do it.
Hmm.
Same thing with math, right? Math does not
Right.
does not care about any of your personal issues. It's just math, right? So I think
Right.
investing's the same way. So that's a great message. And I love having younger folks on that are not intimidated by society, that says you have to do this, this, and this. It's like, no, just go for it.
Mhm.
I try to encourage my daughters to do that as well. And
Oh,
they're still in high school, and we'll see. But I think there's a tendency of older people to kind of look at the new generation and grumble and and say, well, darn kid,
right.
that sort of thing. And I don't think that way. I think that your generation and younger has grown up with the smartphone in their hand,
Right.
available access to the internet, which you just said, which is yeah the best way,
Mhm.
right? Everything's free.
Yeah.
You just have to get out of bed in the morning and go get it. So
Yeah.
I love that message there.
Right. Even if you don't like to read, you can go watch YouTube or listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
I've I've heard so many great ideas just from listening to a podcast.
Yeah, and there's kind of the world that listens to podcasts, and there's people that don't. So, and obviously,
Mhm.
listener today, and for yourself as an interviewee, but as the listeners at home, you're right. I think as a whole, if you have a travel time or if you're working out or something, you just
Right.
listen to people. You can learn so much and develop a perspective and an insight that you wouldn't normally have. And especially, you had mentioned COVID early on, and people getting kind of locked away. You miss the social interaction anyway. Uh,
Mhm.
so it's kind of fun. So since we just mentioned podcast, and since that's how we met, over to you. Open to whatever what's your thoughts or motivations behind starting your own podcast.
Well, since I've been listening to my own podcast lately, it's really like empowered me to be more of an entrepreneur myself. So I want to give other people that outlet to share their ideas and inspire others. And I also am working from home now. I have a lot more time on my hands, and I'm thinking, why not? Since I've been doing these phone calls with my family, I guess I just want to reach out to more people, and I've been listening to a podcast called Millionaire Mindsets with
Okay.
Xavier Miller and Deanna Kent. I don't know if you've heard of that podcast or not, but I
Okay.
am an avid listener. And I kind of want to start something like that, but it's going to be more geared towards, instead of money, it's more geared towards people who are really happy with their career and want to share what they're doing, whether it be an entrepreneur, whether it be you're a teacher, whether it be you're an engineer working in tech or a stock trader or anything, what have you. As long as you're passionate, anyone interested may learn something and they may feel empowered to do more after listening. And that's my main objective. I don't really know a podcast name right now. But yeah, I feel like once I have a name, then I'll really be able to get started.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
sounds exciting, and I know your listeners are going to. Everybody gets excited about hearing people that are passionate about what they do, and that's one
Mhm.
thing for my interviewees is everybody who's like, yeah, I'll get online and talk about what I want to do and my experiences and things. People are just passionate, and that's so motivating for
Yeah.
listeners out there, even if it's something you don't have any idea about. Right? It's just somebody that's telling their story, and that can be so powerful. So and I will say from my experience, it's tough coming up with that perfect name, and I don't know that I know what I want it to be, but it doesn't exactly describe what I do. So I already know I have kind of a mismatch. Uh,
Right.
so may have to morph and change in the future, at least on my own side. But have fun with that. Have you thought about any initial thoughts, or don't want to put you on the spot there?
Well, I was like, I want it to kind of be like talk that talk or like walk that talk or something like that. But I thought maybe that's a little too corny. I don't know.
Well, I think that's great. And I will say that if there's any, as I, have a YouTube channel too, and with the podcast, and honestly, the cornier and more animated you can be, uh, which can be tough for some people, uh, but it's really kind of interesting because when you look at putting together your like thumbnail for YouTube, you always see it
Mhm.
crazy, looks like the ShamWow guy from back in the day, big bright pictures and big yellow because that's the color, right? You're supposed to have is yellow,
Right.
right? For your text. It's like what? But no, it's fun. And one thing I will guarantee you is that whenever you put something out, it'll never be perfect, right? It'll never be perfect.
Right.
Right? It'll just be, you put it out and you go, that was pretty good. I'm happy with that. But the perfection is like this level that you can't kind of get to. Uh, we're all little perfectionists on the inside. So any ideas? Are you trying to get this thing off the ground as it comes to you, or have you put any goals for yourself as far as like
Well,
a month or 6 months or a year or anything like that?
I'm thinking I want to start it within the next 2 weeks because I have so many people who reached out and are interested. I had no idea, I'd have that many people. I thought maybe one or two
Right.
people might say something. So that was awesome for me. That made me feel really good. Especially after speaking with you today, I feel even better.
Oh,
Maybe I do want to get started. It doesn't seem so bad. And I've actually tried starting a YouTube channel in the past before. I posted 2 videos and quit. I'm just really awkward on the camera. I just can't be myself. I'm always like trying to figure out, oh, what do I look like? Oh, do I look okay? What's my background looking like? And I feel like with a podcast or just an audio call, I can just talk and relax and not worry about the extras.
yeah.
So I think this is something that will be better for me because I do like to meet new people and learn different things from others. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah, and then maybe if I do want to do YouTube again, my podcast might give me that audience that I want, and I might be more comfortable in the future. So we'll see.
Well, you certainly do great as far as being on a podcast. So I think you've found your sweet spot there, and then maybe branch out later on. I will say all of us have that inner perfectionist of, is the lighting right? Is the do I look right? Do I sound right? All of that stuff. But don't let that hold you back for sure.
Right.
Um,
I won't. I won't.
yeah, you've done a lot of great things at a young age. So when you look back at either what advice would you have for either like a younger version of yourself if you could go back in time, or folks that are hearing you today that are like, wow, look at this, that's a path that I would like to take. What advice would you have for folks out
My biggest advice would be to stay focused and do not give up because there were so many times I could have just got tired with trading and gave up. I've had my biggest losses. Even yesterday was my biggest loss ever so far because of Dogcoin, but I'm still very, very enthusiastic. You just can't lose that drive and that spark. And you also have to have a vision. Just take some time to figure out that vision because then you'll be more confident. When I was younger, I didn't really know what I wanted. I kept trying to switch my major and eventually I dropped out of college. And um, I feel like sometimes I do regret that. But at the same time, I don't because I found myself since I've left and I've learned more. And now I'm an investor. I can call myself an entrepreneur. I'm independent now. I don't have to rely on my parents. And that's something I wasn't sure I was going to say 5 years ago. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at now. That's the advice I'd give to anyone younger than me. Just don't give up.
there? Yeah, well, those are wise words. And what I got out of that and is that you're happy, and you can tell it in your voice. And you're right, there's what society often says, here's the plan, here's the expectations. And what entrepreneurship does is really frees you from that, because you kind of, you don't want to be flippant with it, but you literally
Mhm.
don't care. It's like, I don't care what everybody else's path is. I'm going to do and get good at a skill set and provide products or services, and go out and do my own thing. And that's going to make me,
Right.
and so that's good. And I will say you're in a good club. That whole I'm not going to say encourage. Too old to be able to say encourage folks to quit college, but
Well, I have parents who supported me. They were always really understanding. My parents, my dad has his degree and he had a lot of expectations out of me growing up, but he'd rather see me happy and do what I love. And he's very proud of what I've accomplished so far in life. So, yeah, especially my mom, she was so happy when I told her I was ready to trade. So, and I know a lot of people don't have that. They may not even have parents who can support them at a young age. And I don't really know what to say for people in those shoes because I've never been in their shoes. You know, I
Right.
have to be transparent, but I would still just say don't give up and believe in yourself and try to come up with a plan that fits you. Because what worked for me may not work for someone else. Someone else may not have $100 or $1,000 to risk in the market like I did. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would try to save up 10 or learn. There's also paper trading, you know, where you use fake money in the real market.
Yeah, absolutely. Cut your teeth there first to find out, how good you are, and you test your plan and all that. So
Right.
I like that. And, it's great you have a support network that allows you to, to support you through your decisions. And, with the college, it's a whole nother story we don't want to get into, but
Right. Yeah. I don't want to offend anyone either.
yeah, college prepares you to go work for somebody else, right? Instead of working for yourself.
Hmm.
They're starting to get better with entrepreneur programs, but I will say that you're in a good club because, if somebody asks me the question, how to become a millionaire, I say, well, there's multiple paths. You can go to college, work for somebody else for 40 years and fund your 401k. That'll get you there.
Hmm.
Or you don't need that and you can do entrepreneur stuff. And people are like, okay, they're like, what if I want to be a billionaire? And I chuckle and I'm like, well, if you're in school or if you have a job, you got to quit both of those things right now.
Right. Right.
So, when you hear to a T, that's why I say you're in a good club, because they were all sitting in college like you were, going, nope. Uh,
Right. And
for me,
what's that new saying now? Like 1% a day or something is everyone's goal. And
yeah,
you just got to think small. You
yeah,
know, if you only have $10, try to get $1 a day, you know?
yeah,
Well, that's 10%, but you get what I mean. I guess if you have 100, get $1 a day. And that's feasible in the market. You
yeah,
know, you can do that with McDonald's. You can do that with Apple or something like that. Tesla, especially, I should say.
yeah. No kidding. It's
And you did ask me about Tesla. I'm not holding Tesla right now, but I wish I did. I'm starting to learn what works for me, and I'm starting to learn how I could be better in my trading because I'm still new. I'm only at it 2 years now,
yeah,
so I'm gonna start holding things like Tesla, and I'm an advocate for Neo right now.
oh yeah.
So I'm surprised it took me so long to say that, but Neo, I truly believe in. Yeah, they've helped me make so much money the past few months. So.
I've got a $2 entry cost basis on Neo, so pretty happy with that
Oh,
myself.
wow. You
Well,
are so lucky.
it was the Tesla. Well, I'll say skill, but but it might be luck too. But yeah, watching Tesla. So for the investors out there, you watch a stock that's best of breed do something like that, you immediately go to the derivatives, right? So
Right.
what are next? And you found, what's the top, out of electric vehicle makers in China, there's like 1,000. But as soon as Neo started to show that it might be best of breed, that was a no-brainer. Put money in and take the ride. And
Yep.
of course, it has benefited everyone who's been on that ride. So, but
Yeah.
I don't want to get away too much in individual stocks. Otherwise, we will talk for probably 4 hours on things and investing philosophies. But
Right.
I do want to close by saying thank you so much for coming on. I give you an A+ rating for your first podcast interview, and like
Thank you.
just like
Thank you. I
get out.
give you an A+ for interviewing me.
Oh,
You are awesome, Stephen.
I appreciate that. But yeah, but go out there and get yours. And like I said, I'll have your information in the show notes on how for folks to be able to contact you and reach out to you. And
Okay.
yeah, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Well, listeners, thanks. That's all we have for today's show. Thanks for listening in to Briana and her story and her advice. What great experiences to have I'm jealous at such a young age. But thanks again for joining Briana and I. And here's you fighting the good fight every day to be on time, on target with your financial goals. Thanks.
Thank you.